What's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Established Run's NBA Injury Report Analysis Show. I'm Drew Dinkmeyer here with Mike Gallagher to walk you through today's 5-game slate in the association. 5 games, 10 teams in total, 6 of them on the second night of a back-to-back, 2 of them on the front end of a back-to-back. Post-in-season tournament time, it's going to be a lot of back-to-back talk from the two of us, which leads to a lot of questionable tags on the injury report. Always available for the injury report show. Mike Gallagher, how are you doing today?
Doing all right. Think I might be coming down with a cold. Got a little sore throat today, but feeling good. Yeah, man. You knew that 1:30 injury report was going to be huge with those back-to-backs, and it did not disappoint, or maybe it did disappoint, depending on how things go. But we were prepared for it. We had pretty much all the right leans on everything. But yeah, excited to go through for all you guys all the details for these injuries and give you guys some leans on it.
Let's get into it. Let's go game by game. We'll start with Cleveland and Boston. On the Cleveland side of things, Evan Mobley remains out with left knee injury management. Karis LeVert, questionable tag, left knee injury management. What are your notes on the Cavs?
Yeah, it sounds like LeVert's got a chance to return here. They've been kind of setting it up for him to come back. He would almost certainly have a minutes limit. We've seen him return from an injury already, have a minutes limit on him. So we'd expect him to enter the rotation, essentially kick out Sam Merrill, take a little bit of upside off Okoro, George Niang, and Dean Wade, who's been great. And Dean Wade would start again and get the Jason Tatum assignment there. So, and then maybe Jared Allen could avoid foul trouble to get his minutes up. He's run quite bad since Mobley went down with a little bit of benching. Tristan Thompson taking his minutes. I would expect Tristan Thompson to still get pretty decent amount of minutes regardless. Probably not 29. But yeah, I think I would expect LeVert back. Wouldn't be shocked if he sat, though, with this knee thing that's been lingering. He's been a player that's been, since his Michigan days, been injured quite a bit.
All right, let's move to the Boston side of things. Nothing really to tackle here. Their G Leaguers are just listed out. Clean injury report on the Celtics side. What are your notes here?
Yeah, just watch out for the spread. You know, this is a double-digit spread here. We saw Kristaps Porzingis return last week on a minutes limit, and we have him basically at the same minutes. We would probably have him at like 31, but pretty big spread here. I think Boston could handle it. You know, home, back-to-back, injured team as well. That's probably the biggest restriction on Kristaps' minutes, but I think he'll have no more minutes limit here. He actually didn't have a minutes limit, technically, according to Joe Mazzulla, so could be pretty full if the Cavs could somehow keep it close. But besides that, yeah, we know this rotation. We know the top 8 guys, and we're seeing Luke Cornett kind of go in and out. They like Sam Hauser commentary from Joe Mazzulla there. So, but yeah, this rotation is pretty much set, and we could move on.
Boston, one of just 2 teams on the slate without a back-to-back on either side, them and Golden State. All right, let's move to the Lakers and Dallas. On the Lakers side, notable, we've talked all year long about the LeBron James questionable tag. It was probable in the finals. It's now back down to questionable. But Anthony Davis has been probable kind of all season long, and he's listed as questionable with a left abductor hip spasm. They also have tags on Jared Vanderbilt listed as questionable with low back spasms. They'll be without Gabe Vincent. They will have Rui Hachimura listed as available. What are your notes here on the Lakers?
So, yeah, the AD thing is interesting. That does strike me as a bit of a wink for tomorrow. I would expect them to play on national TV today against Luka on TNT, but against the Spurs tomorrow, keep an eye out for that. So not the true fake Q tag there for him, but I'm expecting him to play. LeBron, expecting him to play. You know, he's been playing great national TV. Kind of same story here. I think they go for it today, possibly dial back the minutes. They've been playing them so much. So just keeping an eye on that. And should mention Jared Vanderbilt's questionable tag is not a fake questionable tag. He was out earlier this year with a heel injury that took a while to recover. And should mention he had lower back spasms, which is what he's listed with today. He had that injury back in February. So this is a bit of an aggravation from his Utah Jazz days. So just something to note there. I think there's a chance he can miss. Just keep an eye on him. If he didn't play, that would really help out Taurean Prince minutes. Would help out Cam Reddish a ton. We'd see a little bit more Rui Hachimura, who lost a lot of minutes in this last game because they didn't need the wing defense. Rui Hachimura's defense is more for front court guys there. So that's not really a big issue here when you got Luka Doncic potentially on the other side, which we will get to right about now probably.
Yeah, so I was going to ask before we get to the Luka questionable tag. You mentioned maybe a wink to tomorrow with Anthony Davis. Do you think – we always ask this on back-to-backs. Do you think they sit one game, one the other game? Do you think if Luka's unavailable? Do you think that changes the equation here? Because I feel like obviously the Lakers would ideally like to get some rest for LeBron and AD with how heavy they're playing them of late. A back-to-back right out of the jump is a tough spot. But if they get this game without Luka, without Kyrie, maybe you can basically play LeBron tonight, AD tomorrow type situation. What are your thoughts on them potentially kind of adjusting to the injury report based on the Dallas side of things as well?
Yeah, that could definitely be part of it. We know that the NBA doesn't want you resting your stars together, so it's definitely, we would normally call this a fake Q tag, but given the context of all the minutes they played combined with the back-to-back here, I could definitely see something like that coming.
Yeah. All right, let's move to the Dallas side of that game. They will be without Maxi Kleber, Kyrie Irving, Josh Green tonight. They have questionable tags on Luka Doncic, Derek Jones Jr., and Tim Hardaway Jr. Tim Hardaway Jr. missed last night's game. Derek Jones Jr. left last night's game early. Luka Doncic took a little bit of fall at the end of the game that leads to a low back contusion. Notable, Grant Williams not listed on the injury report, so he is good to go. What are your expectations for the Mavericks tonight?
So let's start with Luka Doncic, obviously the biggest one and probably the biggest Q tag on the slate. We saw him hurt his back. It looked like it was almost his hip, but he was asked about it and said, "Oh no, it's my back. It's hurt. It's bothering." He was limping a little bit walking into the press room yesterday, and then he also said both of his knees are swollen. And we know he's had a lot of that left leg injury stuff to keep an eye on here. But playing 44 minutes with a back injury, I don't know, man. I think he's going to play, but I could definitely see him sitting out just based on the commentary there. So I would keep an eye on him. Derek Jones Jr. took a knee-to-knee from Jaren Jackson last night. He did not return. That led to some elevated minutes from Dante Exum. We saw Max Prosper play a bunch. Now that they have Grant Williams back, they would probably just slot him in there if they only had one of them. If they had both, I would expect Dante Exum. I expect Dante Exum to start regardless. I think he's been too valuable. So, and then I'll talk about Luka in a second. But if they did have Grant and Derek Jones, they would both start with Exum and Luka. Obviously, Derek Lively. Jason Kidd said that he asked Derek Lively to get him 15 rebounds, and he got 16. So shout out to Derek Lively. And then, obviously going to the Luka stuff, I mean, they would have to start Jaden Hardy, right? They're just running out of ball handling here. We saw Hardy pick up a really big bench role after the game. Jason Kidd said that he really liked how Hardy played off the bench. He said he did like Seth Curry in the starting lineup. So, I think they would need a ball handler. Seth Curry is not really a ball handler anymore. Dante Exum more of a secondary handler. So they would need first unit handling out there if they didn't have Luka. And obviously they're not going to have Kyrie. So it would probably be a Jaden Hardy night there. And then if everyone's out, I think we could see some Max Prosper minutes as well.
Yeah, I would note that I think there's a scenario that if Tim Hardaway Jr. is available and Luka is out, that they start Exum and Tim Hardaway Jr. instead of Hardy and still bring Hardy off the bench. I think that's possible. They've seemed like mildly comfortable with Exum, like kind of running stuff a little bit, and he's got a little bit of point guard background to him. So that's a possibility. Jane Hardy's fallen out of favor a little bit, but it was a good sign for Jane Hardy last night in the absence of Kyrie to play meaningful minutes, kind of off the jump, be that secondary kind of initiator and ball handler. And we felt a lot more confident in that once Tim Hardaway Jr. went out, because remember in the Portland game, Tim Hardaway Jr. was available in the second half. Kyrie was not. Jane Hardy didn't play. So I think if you want to kind of bucket these guys, you got to think of Luka Doncic, Kyrie Irving, Tim Hardaway Jr., Jaden Hardy. That's the scorers, shot creators bucket. And when they have two of them available, Jaden Hardy's kind of questionable to get in there. When they have just one, he's for sure playing a decent bit. Okay, let's move to Denver and Chicago. On the Denver side of things, Jamal Murray listed questionable on the second night of a back-to-back here. The listing is more clear today with a bilateral ankle sprains is the listing. Sprains, plural. Aaron Gordon listed probable with a right heel strain. Jokic not listed on the injury report. I thought we might get a tag on him, like a probable tag or something like that, just from it being a back-to-back. But Jokic looked back to his normal self last night. The Nuggets played really effectively in Atlanta. Jamal Murray looked like his normal self in 29 minutes, playing really well. The questionable tag here on the back-to-back. What are your thoughts about it?
Yeah, he injured his right ankle yesterday. That was not the same ankle that cost him time earlier. That was his left ankle. So hence the bilateral tag. He is still on a minutes limit according to Michael Malone. Michael Malone said they're going to speak with the medical staff on the plane, which is usually code for, hey, we're sitting this guy out today. Long season. They're 15-9. They got a pretty big win last night. Kind of go down the list. Kind of makes no sense to play Jamal Murray. So I kind of think he's going to sit. That would obviously mean Reggie Jackson starts. Julian Strawther went completely berserk in the second quarter last night. Really a big reason why they won the game. Also got the Defensive Player of the Game award. Had 5 steals, just by far Julian Strawther's best game. He would be secure for minutes. He would probably be one of the second unit anchors. I would expect them to run some overlap with Reggie Jackson. Should mention Aaron Gordon, that heel thing that caused him multiple games. He's probable. I would keep an eye on that. That would call that kind of a between a probable questionable tag, just given the fact that it's a back-to-back. But yeah, that's kind of the story here. Jokic not listed is good sign. And then, keep an eye on MPJ coming off a terrible game, but we know the Bulls, they just give up those catch and shoot shots worse than anybody in the league. So Jokic playing also helps MPJ a little bit.
Yeah.
So it could be a sneaky little MPJ spot, especially if Murray's out.
My other notes here, huge Serbian community in Chicago. So even more so than normal, I would expect Jokic to give it a go, even if he was listed on the injury report here. He's not, so that's good news. And then Strawther and the bench. There's been a lot of rumblings about Mike Malone's frustrations with the bench and people. Just generally, this is what it was always going to be like during the course of the season for this Denver Nuggets. They're relying on a lot of young players here. Young players, their biggest issue in the NBA is consistency. So there's going to be a lot of fits and starts with guys like Peyton Watson and Julian Strawther and Zeke Naji and Christian Brown during the course of the season because they're all young guys that are still kind of adapting to the NBA. But we've seen these moments, right? We've seen them from Peyton Watson. We've seen them from Strawther. And the whole goal of the regular season for Denver is, can they get a little bit more consistency out of these guys as the season goes on so that we know who we're playing come playoff time? I don't know if they'll get there because young guys in the NBA, it's always hard, but this is always the pattern that you get with young players, especially with Mike Malone, who's been notoriously hard on younger players. So nice to see Strawther shine out. Nice to see Peyton Watson a week or so ago have some good moments, but it's going to be ups and downs with all of these guys during the course of the regular season.
Now Christian Brown's down. Christian Brown's down. He's lost a lot of minutes because Strawther's been playing so well. There was a comment from they need defense from them. He said that the bench minutes have been, quote, long minutes for the Nuggets there. So, but yeah, definitely keep an eye on the Murray tag. Nice.
Chicago side of things, Alex Caruso listed questionable. He did not go last night. I think that was part of a back-to-back type situation here. Torrey Craig listed probable with a right elbow contusion. They're still without Zach LaVine, of course. Patrick Williams listed probable, left ankle soreness. These guys all played really full last night. OT game. It's a short commute, so it's not the normal road game into a home game on a back-to-back. But just generally, this is a little bit of an unnerving spot in terms of looking for efficiency production from a team coming off of a overtime loss where 3 guys played more than 40 minutes and a 4th guy played 39 minutes going up against the champs tonight. What are your notes on the Bulls?
Yeah, Caruso went through pregame stuff yesterday, which is usually a pretty good sign for an injury that wasn't that serious. He just picks up so many minor injuries. Justin Fan and I said on Friday that he's the new AD. I'm still waiting for the graphic next time he goes. Hopefully it's not tonight. Stay healthy, Alex Caruso. So yeah, I would expect him to start. That would bump Ayo Dosunmu back to the bench. Certainly would not be affecting Kobe White's role, the role is just massive, and they just drove it at the Bucks all night. DeMar had 29 drives, Kobe had 21 drives, huge handling, shooting over the top of the stuff. We talked a lot about that over the years, how lead handlers, if they got a jumper, they could pile it up, and Kobe is just completely smashing my guy. Expect the minutes to be we have him at 38 and a half minutes, and it's not even high. The guy's role is just absurd there. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I'll expect we'll see if Javon Carter's minutes kind of go. He's been a pretty big disappointment. Torrey Craig was a pretty good spot. He had some pretty big impact late in the game. The plus minus didn't show up, but he had a couple key plays. But certainly pause minutes won't have as much of a ceiling if Caruso's back. But generally, we should see most of the same rotation. Wouldn't really expect it to affect DeMar, whose minutes may come down a little bit for the back-to-back. But I think we kind of have a good feel for this rotation now.
You mentioned the role being really good for Kobe White. It's more than the role in terms of what the result is of late. The last 11 games, he's had just one game that he shot below 40% from three-point range, and it was a game he shot 36%, 4 for 11 from three against the Celtics. His percentages by games from three, and this is on volume. This is on 7+ attempts per game. 60%, 71%, 43%, 61.5%, 36.4, 60%, 41.7, 57.1%, 58.3%, 50%, 40%. This is Steph Curry level shooting from Kobe White over an 11-game stretch. It's been incredible growth from Kobe White this year. Clearly the biggest bright spot of the Chicago Bulls season. And a good reminder, as the Bulls have seen a lot of lottery level picks over the years kind of not have great first 2 or 3 years, and then in year 4 and 5 start to kind of put together. Wendell Carter Jr. did that a little bit as well. It sometimes takes time for these younger players, and maybe the Bulls development system isn't speeding things up as
Lauri Markkanen
some other organizations. Well. Yeah, Lauri Markkanen, another great example. Okay, let's move to the Golden State Phoenix game. On the Golden State side of things, Gary Payton is still out. No other injuries listed. I know they're one of the 2 teams on this slate that are not on a back-to-back on either side. What are your notes on the Warriors?
Fan and I felt really strong about a lineup change coming, and I feel really strongly about it coming again. There was a quote from Steve Kerr. He just spoke very past tense of this Kevon Looney starting lineup, the best lineup in the NBA last year, right? But he said that they're, quote, not the same this year. And that's true. They're slow. They don't have any energy. They need athleticism in the worst way. They're last in transition points. I think they're making a lineup change. I'm doubling down, going to martingale my pseudo bet, although I didn't put any money on it. But their second best player in the last 2 games, without a doubt, has been Jonathan Kuminga. What do you need? You need on-ball defense really bad against Booker and Beal. You need athleticism. You need to get back in transition. They've been really bad in transition defense as well. Second most transition possessions allowed per game. So I think they start Minga. I think they start Steph, Clay, Wiggins, Dre at the 5, and Kuminga. Looney to the bench. We'll see if they cut down Dario Saric. We know they really like Dario with Chris Paul. I should mention he's back. Clay also coming off of illness. He missed practice on Sunday. Keep an eye on him. He's not listed, but just keep an eye on anything illness related with him. Expecting him to be okay. Corey Joseph will go away. We'll see how many minutes Pods can get. Yeah, obviously the playmaking with Chris Paul coming in could certainly take Pods down. We'll see if Moses Moody, who was out of the rotation really before all this started to happen, he was. We saw Chris Paul get hurt with the foot thing, and then. What else happened? Was it Draymond ejected? I forget. But there were like 2 things that happened. And then Moses Moody got in there, and he almost won the game for him. But the headline here is I think that they're going to possibly start Kuminga. I think they just kind of have to at this point. He's been so good for them.
I'll take a little bit of exception with so good for them with that nice -15, the team worst plus-minus differential in the box score. He definitely put up lost stats. He did a lot of things. They lost a lot when he was on the floor last game. It's kind of the issue with Kuminga is that there's just the sum does not the total parts do not equal the sum of the individual parts with Kuminga a lot of times. But I agree they need a lineup change. Kerr's been hinting at it, so I wouldn't be surprised to see that be the move. But I will take exception with him being their second best player of late.
Steph Curry's in the Blazer game that they said he was the best player.
He played better in the Blazers game. This game was a lot of kind of stat patty stuff.
And there was comments from Steve Kerr about needing the rim. They have no rim pressure. He's their only rim pressure guy. They need that, especially against the Suns, who are 5th most rim points allowed per game. So I think
they need a lot of the things that he brings in terms of just athleticism. They're just lacking athleticism generally. The question with Jonathan Kuminga is always, will that translate into actually winning basketball, which remains the question year 3, year 4 in. Let's move to the Phoenix side of things. They'll be without Grayson Allen, Kevin Durant, Nasir Little, and Damian Lee tonight. How do they go about? Not listed on the injury report, Bradley Beal, who's making his return tonight. So what are your expectations for what the Suns starting lineup looks like tonight?
Yeah, so again, the Suns, man, too early with this news. We get, it's not a full island game, but it was pretty clear to me that Kevin Durant wasn't going to play. Didn't practice on Sunday, and he was there were some shots of him with the quote-unquote stay ready group with Bol, Chimezie Metu, Saban Lee, the guys. That's usually a pretty good sign that he's not going to play. So could have used the edge for the DFS, but we ride forward here. So that raises the question: Bradley Beal, how many minutes? We saw him; he was almost 100% when he returned from his first injury. They said he was pretty full, but had a minutes limit. I think it was 26. Went right up to it. So I think he has probably a similar minutes limit here, or actually maybe 24. Excuse me. So but he says he's 100%. Same stuff. They're not going to run him out there, so he'll have a minutes limit on him. Would expect him to start. Certainly, Devin Booker will be the star of the show. Would expect Eric Gordon, and actually, I think Josh Okogie starts. I think Okogie would get the Steph assignment, so I kind of think Okogie kind of starts regardless. It's just a matter of do they want to go big and bring Eric Gordon off the bench. I think it makes sense to just run everybody out there and just deal with the lack of size. We know the Warriors don't have any really rim presence like we just talked about, so that makes sense to me. Obviously, Nurk off the bench, and then we'll still get a little bit of Katie Bates-Diop, a little bit of Yuta Watanabe without Nazir Little. And then we'll see. Maybe they go smaller. We've seen the Chimezie Metu center lineup be used at times against teams like these, but I still think Eubanks should be the favorite there. But certainly excited to see Beal back. And I think Kevin Durant probably plays tomorrow, but I wouldn't be surprised if he sat that one and then played. I think Friday is the next game after that.
So Booker, Beal, Gordon, Okogie, Nurk is what we're thinking for a starting line.
I think so.
Yeah,
I think it makes sense. They just don't need KBD.
Yeah, makes sense to me. Also, Okogie, a pretty good screen navigator guy as well.
Yeah,
that can help out there. So important in this matchup. All right, last game to tackle on the injury report. Unless we go 9 more minutes, I don't know if we're going to have anything to talk about on this side. But Sacramento Kings and the Clippers both on the back end of a back-to-back. Neither team has filed yet. Any notes on either of those teams and your expectations tonight?
No, the only thing was Malik Monk. He was ill yesterday, but he was asked about it after the game, and he basically laughed it off about any concerns he wasn't playing. Played great too. He's been making a little run at 6 man of the year. But he cut down Kevin Huerter, yada yada yada. Nothing really new there. And then we should talk about the Clippers in the minutes. Ty Lue basically said, quote, "It is what it is." With playing huge minutes, he saw 41 on a PG on a back-to-back. Kawhi 39 on a back-to-back. Harden 37 back-to-back. So he is in effort mode with these minutes. He said they got to get wins right now. They're starting to get them together. 12 and 10. He is not satisfied. I expect still pretty strong minutes. It's the Clippers. There's always concern on back-to-back. We will be very cautious of this if we're looking at bets. But it sounds like they're good to go here with just huge minutes.
Yeah, and Zubats once again, right? You've been at 42 the game before when Daniel Tice sat out. This game 33. Obviously, there's the PJ Tucker rumblings about whether they'll find a solution for him in terms of finding another team that might be able to play him more. It looks like Zubats has kind of a pretty clear runway here to play pretty solid minutes. They're not as interested in playing small anymore, and they need a pick and roll partner for James Harden. So here you are with Zubats 42 last game, 33 this game. And his size is going to be a necessity against Sabonis once again tonight. So if you can stay out of foul trouble, the minutes should be quite good again for Zubats.
Yeah, definitely. And should mention too, just keep an eye on when one player's sick, do other players get sick? Yeah. Some Malik Monk returns. So that's just something just to keep an eye on. It's just generally this time of year is something we just got to be aware of.
Yep. As we all know, everybody that I talk to in and around, friends, family, everybody's battling something these days. So it's just the nature of the world that we live in. All right, that'll do it for this edition of Established Runs NBA Injury Report Analysis Show. As always, if you enjoy the content that we're creating here, we'd ask you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and get notifications whenever we go live. We have a goal of trying to get to 5,000 YouTube subscribers on our NBA channel by the end of this NBA season. We'd love for you to help us hit that goal. If you're interested in more of our content behind the paywall, I see many of you asking DFS questions in the content in the chat. You might be interested in some of the stuff that we talk about behind the paywall on our DFS show, 5 o'clock Eastern time, Monday through Fridays. Myself and Mike Gallagher will be breaking down the slate from a DFS specific focus, talking about the good chalk, the bad chalk, the leverage plays, the contrarian options, and of course the flag plants. So you can check us out behind the paywall at establishedrun.com. There will be holiday pricing discounts coming in the next week or so. For those of you who are interested in checking us out, there will be discounted price opportunities around that Christmas slate as well. We'll make sure to notify you guys when that is the case. Of course, if you enjoy the free content and you want us to keep producing the free content, you got to feed that algorithm. You got to smash that like button. You got to caress it gently, press it firmly, or smash it down and help feed that algorithm. Let the algorithm know that the people out there need their established run NBA injury report analysis show. That's what keeps us going. You feed the algorithm. It helps feed our families, allows us to feed you the NBA injury information analysis you need to make your DFS lineups, your season-long lineups, your spread bets, your prop bets, so on, so forth. So make sure to smash that like button, help feed that algorithm. Nom, 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 nom. We'll see you tomorrow.